Welcome to Live Your Passion. I'm Alex Stephen, your host this morning, and I'm from Life Transforming Treasures. By sharing my story and wisdoms from my life journey of how I raised a deaf child and made a life-altering decision, I empower people to transform their lives to one of freedom and fulfillment. I'm an author, a speaker, and a transformation coach. On Live Your Passion, what we are doing are bringing guests to speak to you about the challenges and obstacles they faced in their lives and to share with you their wisdoms so that you could use what's relevant in your journey to help you transform your lives. This morning, my guest is a very dear friend of mine, Heidi Bertram, and I'll introduce her and let her talk about what she does and what she's going to share with us today. Welcome,
you,
Heidi.
Alex, pleasure.
Yeah.
Happy day, everybody. And I just want to say once again, thank you for having me on the show today, and thank you for this opportunity. I am the CEO of a company called Be More You, and I have a wonderful partner whose name is Patricia Bennett. And what we do is we created relationship workshops for women to inspire women to grab hold of their passions in life. This is so appropriate. And live a life that they love. So we have workshops, we have coaching calls, and we have a radio show called Happily Ever After, and it's on iTunes. It's a podcast. It's actually at number 2 on occasion, and it inspires women to live your own unique happily ever after. So I'm here today to share some of my journeys, and it's such a pleasure because Alex and I know each other from Toastmasters, right. And I had the pleasure of evaluating one of Alex's speech. And your speech was so touching and so moving of how you came from Trinidad with your entire family to support your child who was deaf. And it so touched and moved and inspired me that I did bring my tissues because during that Toastmaster evaluation, I remember it touched me so deeply that I wept. So what a gift, Alex, for you to be here and sharing your passion and allowing me to be a guest today.
Yeah, and you're welcome. And I remember that speech. It was follow your heart. Despite what people tell you, you got to follow your heart and that inner voice. So today, I want to start off, with your story. If you could tell the audience a little bit about, growing up. So what were some of your dreams and some of your accomplishments, growing up your home? So, give us a little background of Heidi.
My pleasure. Well, with the name Heidi, could only guess my parents. My mom is from Germany, and she came over at the age of 21. And my dad is from actually close to this area, Rosendale, but has German and Norwegian background. So I was raised by a woman who pretty much came over from Germany, left everything behind. She was a child of war. So her family came over and had to start from scratch. So was raised with very simple values. A roof over our head, love, great health, and the power of the Spirit, the power of God is very, very important. So very much a loving family. My parents have been married for 55 years. Wow. And just a gift in itself, Alex. Yeah. And so as a result of that love and bond, we had a family that pretty much was like the Waltons or Brady Bunch or even the Leave It to Beavers. So very close-knit family. I have an older sister and a younger sister, so I'm one of 3. I'm the middle child, and you know what they say, sometimes the middle childs are a little rebellious. And growing up, I was part of a middle-class family, and my dad did well, but there were occasions where the economy was difficult and he struggled with a few jobs, and so we didn't always have as much money as we would have or I would have liked. So some of my passions were to dance and to skate and to be a really good tennis player. And so fortunately, my dad had that same passion I think he wanted a boy, actually. And maybe should have been named Harold. But so I played pretty much every sport, through the Frisbee, through softballs, baseballs.
But you did good in tennis. Tennis was your game.
Tennis, I love tennis. My father taught all of us in the family, and I was the one, Alex, who just loved it. And so I had this dream. I would dream that I was Chris Everett. And I would bounce probably 1,000 tennis balls on the driveway and pretend I was serving. And you'd see, the neighbors would look over and say, what's going on with this woman? You'd see all these tennis balls throughout the yard. And I kept envisioning myself as this woman that one day would be playing, whether it be a pro level or competitively. And I wanted to be in a Division I school.
So how you did in high school in terms of tennis?
In terms of tennis, I did well. I was very competitive. My freshman year, I played number 2. I had a really great rival on the team. Her name was Kim. So Kim, kudos to you. And she was very competitive. And what happened was I ended up maintaining the number 1 spot from sophomore to senior year. But I loved it, Alex. It was a passion of mine. And so when it came time to graduate and go on to college, I had always dreamt of going to a really great school to play tennis.
But that did not happen because of how things were in your home financially. So you want to tell us a little bit about, how things turned out. You had your dreams here, but in reality, you could not achieve it right away. So just tell us, briefly how that played out for you.
Okay. What happened was, because of financial situations, my parents pretty much said it builds character to earn your own degree. So I chose to go to a state school because that's what I could afford. And as a result of that, I went up to a state school, North Adams State. My best friend was going to be my roommate. And when I got up there, during orientation, the few days before the start of school, this voice inside of me, Alex, said, go home. Leave. This is not the place. It was almost as though that inner voice, the spirit, something was telling me to get out of there, leave, and just go home. So I grabbed the bus, went from North Adams to Milford, and phoned up my mom and said, hi, Mom. She said, how's school going? I said, I'm home. I'm at the Dunkin' Donuts in Milford. Would you come and get me? And she said, okay. And I'll never forget that ride from Dunkin' Donuts home, just sobbing.
And before you took the bus, I know you shared with me an experience you want to share with the audience of, someone approaching you. And that could have been a life-changing, it was a life-changing decision. And if you went the other way, life would have been different for you. I think you want to share, especially, for parents and for kids who are going through this and going to college, the decision you made and how it affected your life.
Thank you for remembering that piece, because I think sometimes you block it out. What happened was I was approached by a person who almost looked like Columbo, if you've ever watched the old show Columbo, the detective, and he opened up his jacket and had syringes and hashish and pot and cocaine, and he said, I have this for you. And I pretty much said, it freaked me out, and I said, no, I do not want that. I said, and he said, no, and he kept opening and kept coming closer with his coat full of all these syringes, and it scared me. That fear was so great. I remember pushing myself and just jumping back, but I also remember just in that moment saying, I don't like this. This is not the type of school or environment I want to be in. And that also helped me get on that Bonanza bus and get home.
Bonanza bus.
I will never forget the Bonanza bus ride from school back home.
Right. So you got home, so, you decided, you got that inner voice told you, you're not supposed to be there. The guy with the Columbo coat, he verified that you're not supposed to be here.
Yes.
And you got home, Dunkin' Donuts, and your mom picked you up. So, did you have any plans? What are you going to do now?
In that moment, Alex, no. The only plan, I was clear that what I didn't want, and that was to go to that school, because they also didn't have a great tennis program. They were Division III, so I was settling in that area too. It wasn't my dream.
Right.
But all I knew was, when I got home, I didn't know what my parents were going to say, if I was going to be accepted. And you know, my mom always said, do what makes you happy.
Right.
Always do what makes you happy, hun. And I went right into my room, Alex, and I sobbed for days because I felt like I had let everybody down.
Yeah.
And that, in those days of just crying and sobbing, I recall, said, okay, you can sit here and feel badly about yourself having made a choice, or you can take one action step. And this is where I used to work 3 jobs in high school, and I said, I can get back perhaps those jobs and let the various business owners know that I'm back.
Right.
There's a little bit of shame going on, where I felt a little bit of shame because I hadn't followed through on my word to school, but there I was.
But you still had that dream.
Still had the dream.
Division I school. You wanted to play tennis. You wanted to graduate university. So it was still there, even though you had this obstacle.
Yes.
And this, you know, you got this inner voice telling you this was not the school. You still had, so you did not give up on your dreams is the key.
Exactly. And what happened was I got my job back at a tennis club so I could play tennis. I demonstrated the walk at Caldors, whatever job I could grab. There used to be a program called Kelly Girls, and they'd fit you in. So imagine the Chinese walk. I was demonstrating walks at Caldors. I took whatever job I could get to make money. And I also became an accounts payable clerk for Lennon Morse Hospital back then.
Right.
So I got also interested in accounting. So not only did I not really quite know what my major was, now I'm interested in accounting, but I'm also playing tennis as often as I possibly could.
Right. So you were on the journey and you were not giving up.
So
basically.
I was not going to give up. And what I say to people is, and what we say in our programs is, never give up. Create a discipline in your life of always taking one baby step, one action step, because you never know when you take that step what's going to happen.
Right.
By taking a risk and starting back and making that phone call to say, I didn't go to school, I would love my job back as the receptionist at the tennis club. Is there still opening? And he said, come back.
Right.
And wouldn't you know, a few months later, probably, I wouldn't say from September until May of the next year, what happened was a letter, the tennis pro said, there's a letter from Northeastern that we just received.
Yeah. So, so during this time, you know, you still had your dreams. You're trying to work, save as much money as you could because you had to finance your school.
Yes.
And I had to do that with 2 children and my wife and I in school full time. And we left Trinidad and came to the United States. And both our parents said, we're going to pray for you. We're going to give you moral support, but we have no money. So I know what you're talking about. We had to do it with 2 kids, going to school full time, and one of our son, Larry, is deaf. And we made it by the grace of God. We got scholarships, we got part-time jobs. But in that time, doubt creeps in. There are times when you have to rely on your faith, you know, and trust.
Yes.
And I assume that's what you went through too. But tell us, you know, in that time, what, I know you felt some shame and, you know, your pride and you let people down. But one of the things I admire is that you did not give up.
Thanks.
You did not give up. But, you know, what I want you to share with the audience is, what did people tell you during that time? I mean, I say it's none of their business, but people are going to tell you things. And for me, those motivate me more than pull me down. And you want to share that.
I certainly will. Thank you. And being part of a tennis club, there are quite oftentimes very wealthy people. And they would come in. There was a prominent lawyer's wife who came in at one point and said, hey, Heidi, how are you? I said, what are you doing here? And she said, oh my gosh, you didn't go to school? You were #1 in tennis. You were National Honor Society. You will never, ever go back. You know, she said, the percentage of children who drop out or kids who drop out, they never go back to school. She said, you'll never go back. And first of all, I was a little bit taken aback that somebody would be that boisterous or vocal about their opinions. But Alex, it fueled me.
Exactly.
I can, right now, from my toes to my nose, I just felt the same fueling in the tingle. And I said, you know what? She inspired me to do it even grander and greater and better. And there was almost a little bit of, okay, I think I can show you that I can do this.
And the thing is, you wanted to prove her wrong, you know, while following your dreams.
Yes.
So when people tell you these negative things, you could turn it around for your gain, you know, to benefit yourself. And I remembered when we were leaving Trinidad, our son was 4 years old then. We found out he was deaf at 1 year old. And a friend told me in the airport, he said, you'll never make it. You'll fail. I'll pick you up here next Saturday. That was Saturday, January 8, 1983. I never forgot it. He said, you and your wife in school full-time with 2 kids, 1 being deaf, no extended family, in a foreign country, in a cold climate. I'll pick you up next Saturday. But you know what? Those words sunk in my heart. And when things got tough, as I'm sure it did for you, I remembered those, and those words really inspired and motivated me to do well. So when he thought he brought me down, he lifted me up.
I call it a God wink.
Yes,
I feel like, okay, there's different God winks throughout your life that when you, of course, as an adult, and I play it back, I can say, that woman was a gift.
Right.
Who inspired me with those negative words. Sometimes we do, and I say this to all the viewers, don't let any other person's negative words ever put you down. Just, you can hold a different context of, I'm a gift, I can do this, I can create a life I love, and really take that almost as inspiration.
And you know, there's a joke I want to share, is that, you know, it's a joke, but it could be true too when you really look at it. Someone told me 90% of your friends do not care about your problem. And the other 10% are glad that it's you that has it. So
interesting.
So, you know, that's the way you have to look at it. It's you. You have to, you know, you have to live for you.
You do.
It might sound a little selfish, but you can't live for other people.
Alex,
basically.
I so agree. I totally agree.
So at the tennis club, as fate will have it, you know, the letter came. You had, you know, you had no idea. You wanted to go to a Division I school. You did not have the financing. You did not give up on your dreams, and you kept going. You kept playing tennis. You were instructor for a while too. Also.
Yes, I helped with clinics there as well.
So you were in the mix, so to speak. You were in the mix, and this, you know, it's not a coincidence. It was for you. So share with us the story of the letter.
That letter changed my life, and I think even before the letter, what I say to everybody is, when you have a dream, share it. So when I was at the club, I would say to the different tennis pros, my dream is to be at a great school playing tennis. And so one day, one of the tennis pros grabbed hold of all the letters, and the letter wasn't addressed to me personally, it was addressed to the tennis club. So the pro said, Heidi, you've got to take a look at this letter. Northeastern is having a one-day winner-takes-all scholarship. They're going to invite 10 incoming freshmen to compete in a tournament. It's one day, and he said, I think you should call them and sign up for this. Well, it was as though the fairy godmother who had her magic wand and just went boop. Well, there was the opportunity, and I immediately called, but there was a little bit of a fear of, wow, what happens if I actually get this? And so
fear of success.
Fear of success kicked in. And I said, you know what, Heidi, you don't have anything now. You've been working 3 jobs, demonstrating walks at Caldors, becoming an accounts payable clerk. Just go for it. So I remember the night before the tryouts, Alex, it was one of those nights where it was raining, so the potential for canceling it was pretty high.
Wow.
So I said, okay, you know what? And a few friends had said, come on out. We're out. We're going to have some celebration. So I did. I participated in a fun party, thinking it was going to be canceled. Well, the next day, the coach called and said, we've squeegeed off the courts. We're ready. We're going to actually have it. Come on out. It's outside. So come participate in the tournament. So there was my mom running around the house trying to grab my tennis skirt. She said, you've been waiting for this for the last year and you don't want to blow it.
Yeah.
So I drove over my 1973 VW Beetle, which had the big moonroof and leaks coming down. So I'm basically almost holding the umbrella up in my car. Got over there. They're all running around the tennis courts warming up. And the coach at the time said, hi, I'm Dr. Hope. Dr.
H-O-P-E.
Pinky Durrett Hope. And it was another God wink. I said her name was Dr. Hope, and I had always hoped to have this opportunity. So leave it to the tennis goddesses, the energy, it all lined up that day. And I had to play 9 other women who were there.
Right.
Alex, it was almost as though God had my racket. One match after another, I had won, and I beat all 8, and this other girl had beaten all 8. So the coach said, come on out. She said, we're having a playoff, Heidi. I said, okay. And she said, I said, is it 2 out of 3? She said, no, first woman to 10 will win. And I said, this is a winner take all. She said,
10 more games.
10 more games, and whomever makes it to 10 first will win. Well, we went 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, 4-4, 5-5, all the way up to 9-9. And the coach said, play 1 more game for winner take all. Alex, all of a sudden, I get ready to serve, and I see through the bushes my parents' eyes are looking, and I said, oh my goodness, a little nervous. Yeah. I look over, and my mom, they didn't want me to see them, but I did. Yeah. But in that moment, I just still stayed true to my vision of always playing for a Division I school. And I won. And when I would win, my mother even said this the other day, she said, you'd run and you'd hop over the net and you'd shake the person's hand. Just from all the energy.
Excitement.
The excitement. I ran over, shook Sue's hand, and the coach said, I'll get back to you on Tuesday, Heidi, about what we have in store for you.
So you did get the scholarship.
On Tuesday, Coach Hope called and said, we have given you a scholarship to play tennis for Northeastern. You'll be the #1 singles player. And to this day, it's just, I can still hear that phone call with her. And I stopped and I said, Coach, I said, the other girl that was part of this competition, I said, can we split it?
Yeah. So you got a scholarship. You had to maintain. You had to be like number 3.
I had to stay in the top 3. She
top
said.
3.
She said if you stay with either 1, 2, or 3, you will maintain your scholarship.
Full scholarship
for the 4 years.
So your dreams came true.
So my dream
came true. To get into a Division I school, you didn't know how, but it came true. That letter came. But the thing is that I want to share is that success is 80% of success is showing up. If you had stayed home and subbed for 2 years, this would not have happened.
Right.
But you gave it up. You went out there. You swallowed your pride. You asked for your jobs. You did a good job coaching people. You practiced. So you were getting ready for that tournament. Even though the night before you thought it was going to be postponed, you were so ready in your mind and physically that there's no way they're going to beat you. Now, getting to what you told the coach about the young woman that you beat is another story. It's another story because it shows, your integrity and your character. And when you shared this with me, the way I interpreted it was that you risked something that you were dreaming of and envisioning your entire life to play tennis in a Division I school, and you could have blown your scholarship by what you did.
Yeah.
And so I want you to share what it is you told the coach, what is her response, and what was the outcome.
Okay, I'm going to grab a tissue because this totally changed my life, because I, Alex, am a woman that thinks that if I'm the only one who is able to receive the gift at the cost of somebody else, that's not how I want to live my life. And it still to this day touches me. As I said to the coach, do me a favor, if that woman who came in second, if we could split this scholarship, we need a team. You want Northeastern to be a great team? We need multiple people on this team.
And at that point, you were not flush with cash.
No. No. I was making $2.65 an hour.
Minimum wage.
Minimum wage.
So you were risking half a scholarship, or even the chance of her saying, okay, you don't want it, I'll give it to this person. You don't know how she was going to react.
No.
But from the goodness of your heart, you had that conversation with Coach Hope, Dr. Hope.
And she said, I think the phone dropped. It was like,
yeah.
I don't think
she couldn't believe
it, Alex. So she said, let me get back to you. And in that period of 24 hours, she said, I'll call you tomorrow, Heidi. And I really think, to your point, I said, okay, so if I get half, I'll work a few part-time jobs. But the woman who I beat by basically one game was really a great player and a good person. And so the coach called me and she said, I went to the athletic director and told her your story. And she was blown away and said, this is one special woman.
Exactly.
And she said, she gets to keep her scholarship and we'll give the other woman a partial. And I was so thrilled, to the point where I said, this is fantastic. And it's like, when you take a risk like that on behalf of somebody else, you never know how it's going to play out. But that woman became one of my dearest friends and saved me when I couldn't find a dorm. She then helped me because she gave me a room at her parents' house to stay at. So
you don't know how it's going to come back. Yeah, the karma. The way I describe that is that life has a boomerang effect.
Yeah.
Whatever you throw out comes back to you. The thing is, we do not know how it's going to come back.
True.
And that just shows the character that you had. At that early age, you had to be in your early 20s or 19 or something.
Yeah, 19 or 20.
To do something like that. So not to say that you were versed in personal development and all these things. And it shows the upbringing from your home, from your parents, the values that were embedded in you. And it came out in that moment. And that is what I want people to get on the show. These are the types of things, the wisdoms that you could use to help you in your challenges, in your life journey.
And never, ever not honor what's in your heart. And that's why with the programs we have, Be More You, it's about living from your heart and taking risks that other people may think are strange, Alex, or they may have said, what were you smoking, Heidi? But in that moment, that was what I knew, which was true to me in my heart. Right. So really staying true to your own commitments to being in integrity, being a good person, and wow, the rest is history.
Yeah, and that's that's great. That's a great story. The values in there, and I want to tell people in the audience, sometimes you're gonna fall off the wagon. It's not gonna be perfect, but the thing is, you have to get up. Get up. And as my friend and mentor and my speaking coach, Les Brown, says, when you fall, try and fall on your back. Because if you could look up, you could get up. And you want to keep getting up. That's the whole thing about life, is fall 7 times, get up 8. You got to get up, and that's what you did. And I mean, Northeastern Division 1, my daughter went to Northeastern. Not on a tennis scholarship.
It helped with the wallet and the payments,
right.
that's for sure.
So it's good. So, pretty good, how things the way I look at it, Heidi, is that you took a step back in order to move forward. You could have gone and settled for the state school. I'm not saying anything against the state school, but your desire and your dreams was Division 1, and you had it in you. You were number 1 in high school.
Yeah.
Right? You were in the tennis club. That wasn't coincidence. You were there training for that one-day tournament.
Yes.
You were there. You didn't know it. But the thing is, you showed up. And that's what you got to do in life. Show up. No matter what your circumstances or challenges might be, you got to show up.
Alex, you're so right. And then by showing up, well, as I said, Dr. Hope was the name of the coach.
Right. Yeah.
Here we are, play it 30 years later. Do you know I just sent her a thank you note? Just within the last month, I have not seen Dr. Hope in 30 years, Alex. And from a place of sheer gratitude, that one day with Dr. Dorette Hope totally changed my life.
Right.
And I wanted her to know how much it changed my life. And do you know, one of her friends said when she got that note, I have to say she was in a low moment because she had retired, and said, I wonder if I had impacted any of my students.
Wow.
And here the note showed up saying, you touched my life. It was that moment that was pivotal. And she said, you brought me inspiration by saying thank you for the gift. And she said, I never knew, Heidi, how much that had touched your life.
Yeah, people never know until you tell them, being in gratitude. And if you don't tell people how grateful you are, someone said it's like wrapping a present and having it here and you never give it.
Good one.
So when you have the opportunity, tell people how grateful you are. Don't wrap that present and leave it there. And in having this conversation, I want to support this conversation by giving a free gift to the audience, which is a personal development power pack. Please go to www.personaldevelopment.com. That's personaldevelopmentpowerpack.com, and get a free gift just to support this conversation.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so I want to switch gears. So we got through your school, so now you're Division 1, you graduated in accounting, and you're ready to hit the world, and you have all these ambitions. Tell us, what were your ambitions in terms of work, and what you envision yourself doing out there as a young woman graduated from this top university in Boston?
Well, because Northeastern was a great co-op, we had a great co-op program, I did become an accountant. From those part-time jobs as the accounts payable clerk, I got inspired, received my accounting degree from Northeastern. And what I realized, Alex, was at the time, I then set another goal. I mean, I think internally I always had these desires. I didn't formally write it down, but I set a goal, thanks to my friend Sue's brother, who said, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30. Well, I said, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 40. And we high-fived. And so from just talking to people about goals and dreams, I set out that goal. So coming out of school into the high-tech world, I became an accountant. I had this goal in the back of my head. And I realized the goal actually stemmed from the fear of not having enough money, that insecurity, that safety, that we wasn't able to do as many things as I wanted to as a child. So I was motivated a little bit by the fear of not having enough.
Didn't want to grow up broke.
Didn't want to grow up broke.
Yeah.
I wanted that safety and security. And so I set out to just do whatever I could do to work up the corporate ladder. Now, I also had radical feminists as my professors in school. I mean, radical feminists, and I drank the Kool-Aid. I was that woman who came in the pink stripe, this gray stripe, pinstripe with the bows. I was dressing like the man. I was taking the golf lessons. I studied under the feminists who said, Make sure you bring no femininity into the corporate world. You act like a man, and that's how you're going to succeed.
And you got that at Northeastern University when you were there, some of your professors.
Some of my professors were women in management courses were taught by some of these women who were, okay, you get in there, this is how you are to be successful.
Right.
So
share with us how that, how that affected your life, taking that stance, how it affected your life down the road.
It was a big cost to me from the standpoint of my own uniqueness, I'm one of those, I enjoy fun, I like to wear pink and pearls and pumps and be a little bit girly on occasion. I was wearing the gray pinstripe. I almost felt as though I was a man and I became a little bit masculine, which when it came to dating, Alex, it was difficult.
It didn't work.
It absolutely didn't work. That's why I'm 52 and single, is because I had to look at the cost of having that type of demeanor, which was drive and drive and drive and continue almost competitively compete with people at work versus partner with them.
So you were successful in your career as an accountant. You achieved your goals of being, the financial goal you had.
Yes, I became an executive. That was part of my goal, to have a corner office and to achieve financial success. I retired at 39. I beat it by a year.
Right. So you were ahead of the game.
I was ahead of the game, and yet there was still an emptiness.
Still an emptiness. And you never got married. You never had children.
No.
So, there's a cost to taking that sort of stance. But, all is not lost. You took that stand when you were in school. You're successful in business. And you had a long relationship with your...
right after high school and college and into my 30s, I was dating one man for all those period. Yeah, that period of time.
So share with us, you had all these accomplishments and things that you miss out in your life. What turned it around? What made you change and say, you know what, this is not how I want to live my life?
Wow, Alex. So at 39, when I retired, and I had a retirement party, and they presented me with a plaque and said, "Thank you, Heidi, for your dedication." I had the money in the bank, but no love in my life. And of course, shortly thereafter, 9/11 hit, and the whole market blew up, and then I lost the money. So now what I worked for, which was this big nest egg, was gone. And so I didn't have the nest egg, and I didn't have love. So in that moment, I took a step back and said, how can I claim back the woman that I gave up? Like, what do I need to do to actually claim her back? And Alex, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know the answer.
But you wanted it. You had that desire.
I had the desire. And what I realized in all those years, especially after the relationship broke up, was that I had been suffering in silence. When the relationship ended, I dove more into work and worked 80 hours and 100 hours to bury myself from feeling the pain.
Yeah.
And when I finally shared the story with not only a good friend from college, Deb, but my business partner, Patricia, I said, do you know what I really want in life? I want to be loved. I want love, and I don't have it.
And I think we all want that. As human beings, we want attention, we want to be loved. All the material possessions cannot compensate for that. A lot of rich people are going to tell you that. I'm not saying you don't want to be rich, you don't want to be wealthy, but the point is, as we could tell from this conversation, it's balance. Mm-hmm. You need balance. Instead of going too much to the left, too much to the right, you want to, you want to maintain and prioritize what's important in life. And it's okay if things don't go the textbook way, but it's important to get back on track and not everybody's life is written the same way or lived the same way.
True.
But it's good, you know, good that you had a chance to reflect and come back on track, you know, with Trisha and all these people and this company that you have now and things that you do.
And I think, too, the other thing I realized, if I could share this and everybody can learn from what I had to struggle with, is I thought I could gain happiness from every external source, Alex. I had 12 jobs in the 15 years at Stratus. I thought by changing jobs, something would, I mean, I just kept moving up the ladder, but I thought variety. I owned a tennis store. I helped as Ed Brayburn Tennis Club as one of the assistant coaches there. I thought the more I did externally, I would find love there. Maybe buy a new outfit, but that was short term. I didn't realize I had to stop, look inside, and feel the feelings of perhaps what I didn't want to feel, which was the sadness of not having a really deep, loving relationship.
But that's where you gotta, you know, acceptance. You gotta accept where you are.
Yes.
Because if you want to go somewhere, first you had to know where you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want to go to New York, okay, where am I? Medfield. If you don't know where you are, you'll never get in New York. You're probably gonna get there, but it's gonna take a long time.
Yes.
You might end up passing through Michigan or something. So being, you know, being aware, accepting where you are, you know, these are the types of things that you have to do in order to, you know, get on the track that you really desire.
Yeah.
So I know so from there, you went back into corporate again.
I started my own company.
Right.
So when the market crashed and I lost a big nest egg, I needed to get money again. So I tried to start a nonprofit called Live and Give, and that was a struggle. And because sometimes you try to put those dreams out there and it doesn't happen as fast as I wanted, but I started a company which was an internal audit consultant.
Yeah, internal audit. I'm a CPA, certified public accountant, and I give that up, and I'm not going back. You know, I bless my accountants, my CPA.
Debits
I
and
love
credits.
him. Yeah. So it's good foundation. You know, my career was more in finance and being a corporate lender for a long time, but I admire people who go back.
It wasn't easy because, once again, I had mud on my face a bit because they had a retirement party for me, a little bit of shame. So now I'm calling up a few bosses saying, is there a chance, or another dear friend of mine, Kathy, who had become an audit director, I said, may I get a job back in your particular company? She had moved on to another company. I said, this time as a consultant, I'll have a little bit more flexibility. And so she spoke to the CFO, whom I knew as well, and he said, she's back in the game, bring her on.
Yeah.
And that's how my consulting company started to unfold.
And you started to work the long hours again and get back into that cycle, so to speak.
Right, Alex. Sometimes it's like the fly hitting the screen. You have to, I hadn't had the V8 moment yet, but at that point I realized, because the shame of not having been successful and having the failure took me back into those long hours again, because that's where I could control it. I knew that was safe. I knew that was a security.
So share with us again, what was your, the moment that, said, oh, this is not for me. I'm doing the wrong thing here.
Well, I had multiple consulting jobs, and the consulting job that was the most difficult was a company that was in quite a bit of financial disarray, and they pretty much said, we're going to be delisted from NASDAQ. We need somebody to come in and help us with all the internal controls. And my other real dear friend, Kathy, and I were staying at the job until 3 and 4 in the morning, trying to get things done. And they said, we need you to come tomorrow, Heidi, as I became their audit director, and present the status of the controls. Alex, the pressure and the stress was so great on me. At that point, it was eating at me. And I found myself at Milford Hospital, hemorrhaging, just sheer panic, sheer pain. The stress had gotten my body so sick.
Affecting your health.
Affected my health. I was in the hospital, and I really, at this point, said, you driving yourself like this, like a hamster on a treadmill, once again, this voice said, stop. Yeah. And I said, I heard that voice before. But because I had, from the time I was 19 until the time I was in my 40s, it was almost like I kept so busy, I didn't hear that voice anymore. Mm-hmm. But because I was flat on my bed in the hospital, here I was.
Yeah. You had no choice but to listen. I
had no choice. And at that moment, that voice said, stop it. Mm. And I said, I have to stop, because I could get so sick that I wouldn't have life. Yeah. And so I went to the CFO and at that moment said to him, let's create an exit strategy. I will get you through year end, and if it's possible, I would like to leave after year end. And he was shocked. Is it more money? Is it?
Yeah.
I said, no. I had a vision that day, Alex, of driving down the long driveway at that company and waving goodbye. And I said, if there's one thing I know in my heart of hearts that I want people to know is never sell your soul and spirit to the devil. When that voice says no, you have to act. Yeah. And I did without a plan. Right. And I had another going away party.
Yeah, another going away.
Nice bottle of Monet.
Yeah, another going away party. So share with us, so that was your then and your how you did things. So now, what is Heidi Bertram doing now? And I like to say happiness and joy is an inside job. Mm. And this is what you'll get from this conversation. It's inside. So now share with us, share with the audience, what it is you're doing now. How is life for Heidi?
Wow. No board meetings. I get to hang out with my friend Alex. Yeah. It is calmer, more peaceful. I'm listening. I'm in gratitude. I have created this phenomenal company, Be More You, with my real dear friend Patricia. And there's a fire back in my belly of igniting people's light. Because what I realized, Alex, was I think we all have this beautiful light burning inside of us, and we can either, sometimes it gets snuffed out, we allow it to get snuffed out, but by sharing my story, sharing my journey, the light inside is on in me, and I want everybody to ignite that light inside of them.
That light.
Ignite it, light it, and be brilliant in this world, be beautiful, but be yourself. These stories are not easy stories to sometimes share. Yeah. And I know when I do share them, somebody is touched, moved, and inspired.
Somebody. And, someone said that our stories, the life that we live, is not really for us. The reason we live them and the experience we have is to share them to help other people on their journey. And this is what we're doing at Live Your Passion, is to share with you these wisdoms and these experiences to help you, to help the audience. And that's what we're striving to do here. So Heidi, in wrapping up the conversation, it was great. Always a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you for this time,
And
Alex.
I just want to ask you if there's anything you would like to share in wrapping up, you like to share with the audience as we close this session.
Absolutely. My gift to everybody is to always be yourself, always be authentic, live from your heart, live from your passion. Think in terms of long-term, the legacy that you want to create and leave behind. I want to create a legacy where people say, that woman Heidi, she leaves footprints of love on everybody's hearts. So I want people to create a life they love, doing what they love with the love of their life. And with that, what we do at Be More You is we have these weekly love notes. And every Monday you can log in and you can sign up for one of our love notes on www.bemoreyou.co. We send these wonderful inspirational love notes to inspire you to be yourself, be beautiful, be brilliant, and let that light shine in the world. So if you have any questions or want to be part of our programs, we would love to have you. Log into www.bemoreyou.co and let your light shine.
And that's .co, not .com.
.co, yes.
Make that clear.
Thank you.
And Patricia will join us shortly on one of the shows. I'm looking forward to her sharing her story, which is so much different than what she's doing now.
Absolutely.
So that will be great. So again, my friends, Live Your Passion, Heidi Bertram, and what we heard here today is to have balance. And when you take a step back, do not give up. Once you show up, your opportunity is going to come, as Heidi's opportunity came at the tennis club. She had no clue how she was going to go. I'm working at $2.65 an hour, minimum wage, trying to save money to go to a Division I school. I don't know when she was going to get that money, but the opportunity came because she showed up and she never gave up. She was in the mix, following tennis, being in tennis, her love, her passion. So you got to follow your passion. And I want to say, go to my website, alexstephen.com. It's simple as my name, www.alexstephen.com. You could get more information there if you want to contact me for any reason at all. And I want to say this quote I love from Lao Tzu is that when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. So you got to be ready, my friends. You got to make a commitment. You have to do it. And one of the things I just want to share with the audience is my books are coming out. These are the proofs. It's not out yet, but I just want to give you a peek. It's Courage in Our Hearts, a family's love story. And it's written by our entire family, my wife Raz, Larry Charisma, and myself. And the foreword is by Les Brown. And I'll let you know when it's out on Amazon.
Congrats.
And thank you. And then we have an accompaniment to it, which is a study guide, a workbook, and it's Discover Your Inner Treasure. And it was inspired by Courage in Our Hearts, and written again by 4 of us. And there's my lovely granddaughter on the cover here.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Rovina.
With her arms up.
Her arms
Love
up.
that,
I got
Alex.
that the day before we sent it to the graphic designer. She was on this school trip on the apple farm and orchard, and I took it, and we were trying to figure out what to put on the cover, and I said, that's it, discover your inner treasure.
Fantastic. That's my wish for everybody, is to discover their inner treasure.
So thanks to my guest, Heidi Bertram, for being with us today. Thank you, Heidi. Such a pleasure.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks so much for joining us today, and see you next time on Medfield TV, Live Your Passion.
Production support provided by Medfield.TV. Access to our community.
I'm Roberta Lynch, and you're watching Medfield.TV.